In this section we're going to look at mail merge, which is one of the most commonly used, one of the most useful, and for some people one of the most difficult to understand features in Microsoft Word. So we're going to go through it step by step. Now we'll be using a couple of practice files here that you'll find in the Chapter 14 folder. But first things first, what is mail merge? Mail merge is the process of being able to take data, commonly name and address data, from something like a spreadsheet or a database or a email software, and use that to import it into a standard letter or email or envelope design, so that you can create personalised letters and envelopes and emails for individual people. Now, I'd like you to open the customer list file, which will open in Microsoft Excel. Now you'll see here we have the name and address details of the 5 people that we want to send this letter to. We've got first name, last name, address 1, and so on. Across the top we have what's called a header row. Now this gives us information and gives Microsoft Word information on what that particular field contains, what that column contains on the spreadsheet in this case. Now you'll see here that there are no spaces in the names between first and name and postal and code and address and the number 1. It's very important for a header row that there are no spaces at all in those names. And you can add other information if you want to down here. So the first thing to do is to check that this information is indeed correct, and we'll close this when we're done. Now I'd like you to open the anniversary letter file, which I have here. Now here we have our standard letter, and we'll want to be able to perform a mail merge on it. So the first thing to do is to go to the Mailings tab, and under the Start Mail Merge button there is a step-by-step mail merge wizard. So click on this. Now first of all, it wants us to select the document type. In this case we're doing a letter, but it could be an email, an envelope, a label, or a directory. So we'll click next. Do we want to use the current document, start with a new document, or start from an existing document? If you selected existing document, it will give you a chance to open it. We want to use the current document. So now we want to select recipients. Now here we can use an existing list. We can look in our Outlook contacts if Outlook is your main email client, or we can manually type in a new list. But we want to use an existing list, so we'll press the Browse button here and we'll navigate to the Chapter 14 folder and open the customer list file. You'll see here there's all sorts of different file types that you can pull information from. So open customer list. Now here there's a little tick box down the bottom saying first row of data contains column headers, and it's recognised that we've got our column headers. Now it's seen that we've got a sheet here called customers, and it's got this sheet 2 and sheet 3. I wouldn't worry about those, because when you're using Microsoft Excel, if you look down in the bottom left of the window, you'll see that each new document comes with 3 different spreadsheets within it by default, and we want the one called customers. So click OK. Right, now we have our information here. We've got the data source, we have our last name, first name, address 1, so you can see that Word has found the header, but if you click on the arrow next to it, you can see that you can change that if needs be, if it's wrong. We can sort them, we can find duplicates, we can find recipient, and there's a validate addresses link here, but that would need additional software. And here's confirmation of our data source, and we can click edit on that if needs be. So we can select who we do and do not want this letter to go to. So we'll tick everyone, and when we're ready we want to press OK. So now we've imported the data, and again we have a link here to edit the recipient list if we want, and in the next segment we're going to look at how we prepare our main document. Okay, so we're going to follow directly on from the sorting the data sources with the same document at the same point that we left it in the previous segment. Now here we have our letter. We've selected our list of recipients, which you can see here, and now we need to prepare our document. Now our cursor is at the beginning of the first paragraph here, and that's where we're going to want to insert our address information. So now the wizard is saying write the letter, which we have done. Now we want to be able to insert an address block and a greeting line here, which you can also see on the ribbon at the top along with that edit recipient list. So let's insert some carriage returns here. Right, now we've got space for the address block, so we'll press the address block button and it'll give us lots of different formats here that we can choose for the address block, and it will show us in the preview if they will change, and bearing in mind that they'll change depending on the data that you've got and the way that's formatted. We don't have any titles in this, so it's not going to show Mr. or Mrs. for instance. So there's several options here, including the option to exclude the postal address. You can format the address depending on the country, on your country, and if there's problems here, we have a match fields dialog here, so we can match up what's required for the address block with what's actually in our database, and we can choose the correct field if something is wrong. So you can see here suffix, company, there's no match for those, and if they were in the spreadsheet we could select them. So press OK when we're done, and then press OK again. Now we've got this field here which says address block, and that's where the address will go. We also now want a greeting line below it. So press the greeting line button, and here we've got different formats here we can pull down, and when you're happy and you can choose from a great many of these, then press the OK button. Again, if there's a problem, you have the match fields button. So press OK, and now we've got the greeting line. So the next step is to preview the letters and to actually perform the mail merge, which we will do in the next segment. Okay, so now we've got our document, let's check things over just to make sure that everything's right before we merge the data with the letter. We've got a highlight merge fields button here on the ribbon, and if we click that we can see any merge fields that are going to go into the document, and we can see that's all we need. So now we have a preview results button, which again you've got here, step 4 or 6 down in the mail merge wizard. So we'll preview results, and we can see here that we have a letter here, Dear Isabel Martins, and that's what the first of those letters will look like. So if you're happy, when you're ready, you want to press the finish and merge button. Now, do we want to edit the individual documents, do we want to print them, or do we want to send them as email messages? We'll choose on this occasion edit individual documents. So we will merge all of the records and press OK when you're ready. So now we have, you'll see here, a longer document with multiple letters in, each of which has a personalised name and address at the beginning of it. So there we have it. Our mail merge is complete for the letters. In the next segment we're going to have a look at envelopes. Okay, so now we've looked at how we use mail merge on letters. Let's have a look at how we use mail merge on envelopes, and we're going to want to start with a blank document for this exercise. Now, the reason I want to look at this is because on the ribbon under the Mailings tab, if you press the Envelopes button, while this will integrate with your Outlook address book if you have it, you might want to use the same spreadsheet or database that contained the name and address details as you used for the actual mail merge of the letter itself. So I want to have a look at this, because when you press this Envelopes button, it's going to want you to type the delivery addresses manually, and you don't want to do that. So we'll press the Start Mail Merge button, and we will again start the Mail Merge wizard. We're going to tell it we want envelopes, and we'll press Next. We now have the envelope options, and we can choose the size of the envelope. We can choose the font for the envelope, and we can choose the printing options. Now the printing options will determine where and in what orientation you insert the envelopes into your printer, and where you feed it from. Is it a manual feed, or will your printer take them from a tray? And these options here will vary depending on your printer, depending on how many trays you've got. And you can choose the option here so that Word knows which way round to print the addresses. So when you're happy with those, press OK. Right, now we want to select the recipient, so we'll press Next down here in the wizard, and we'll browse for our file. And once again, we want to go to the Chapter 14 folder and open the Customer List Practice file. So we'll open that. We'll select our Customers field again, and we want it to go to everybody, so we'll press OK. Now, we want to arrange the envelope now, so we'll move to step 4 in the wizard, and we want to insert an address block. Now, if we insert it here where the cursor is, the address is going to appear in the top left corner. But if you click further down, you'll see that Word has automatically inserted a text box. So we can now insert the address block here in this text box by clicking in it. There are other options that are available here. If you click on the File tab on the ribbon and go to Options, under Advanced Options, right down at the very bottom, you've got an option here to have a return mailing address, should you want a return mailing address. And now we've got the address block in this text box, which Word has automatically inserted for us. We can preview the envelopes, and we can see here that everything is appearing as it should. So when we're happy, we can click Complete the Merge, and we can then print those envelopes or edit individual envelopes should we want to. So that's it for letters and envelopes, and in the next segment we're going to have a look at email messages. Okay, so now we've looked at letters and envelopes, let's have a look at how we can use Word 2010 to send personalised emails to multiple recipients. And for this exercise we're going to want to use the Thank You email practice folder, which you'll find in the practice file, which you'll find in the Chapter 14 folder. Now we want to be able to select the data that we've got, insert data, and so on. So rather than use the wizard this time, because the spreadsheet that we had didn't contain email addresses, we want to go to the Select Recipients button under the Mailings tab on the ribbon. Now we can select from Outlook contacts, which is a quick way of doing it, but we're going to manually type a new list. We're going to have a look at this. Now by default, Word has all sorts of different headers here. You'll see along the top. Email address you'll see is right at the far end, and we want to move it. So we want to customize the columns. So we'll click on email address, and then we can move it up by pressing the Move Up button until it appears here after last name. And we're not going to use title, so we'll move title down. This is going to make it easier for us to enter the information that we want: first name, last name, email address. Press OK when you're happy. Right, now we want to type Andrea. Press Tab to move between the fields, the Tab key on your keyboard, and we're going to type Andrea at Consolidated Messenger Joyce.com. When that's done, we can extend that column there. You can see that we haven't had to do unnecessary tabbing between columns to insert any information, to skip any fields that we're not entering information for. So we'll press new entry. Now we want to type Judy. Oh, let's go back one. You can do a shift tab to go back a field. Judy Lou, and we'll do Judy at lucernpublishing.com, and then we'll press new entry again, and we'll have one more. Ben Miller, Ben at wingtiptoys.com. Right, now we have our recipient list here, so we'll press OK when we're ready. Okay. Now it wants to save this file as an address list, so we will call it my email data list, and we will save it down in that chapter 14 folder there, so we can get it later should we want to. So now we want to insert the merge fields here. So we want to insert a merge field. We want to insert their first name and a space, and then last name, and then under that their email address. And then once we've done that, we can preview the results here using these arrows, blue arrows on the ribbon. And then when we're finished, we can finish and merge. We can edit individual documents, print documents, or send email messages. And we'll want to choose send email messages, and click that and you're done. So in the next segment, we're going to look at creating and printing labels. The last thing to look at with mail merge is creating and printing labels, and for this exercise we're going to want to start with a blank document. So either open Microsoft Word, or from the file menu select new. So we want to go to the mailings tab again, and we don't want to click on the big labels button here because that will bring up a way for us to manually type in addresses or to import them from an email client, but it's here and it's useful if you're going to do it that way. We want to go to Start Mail Merge and tell it that we're going to use labels here from the little drop down. So now, printer information first of all. Is it continuous feed, or is it manual tray? Does it go from a tray? Does it go from a different tray or manual feeder? And what type of label is it we want? Who's the vendor of the label? There's a whole host of them here. We want Avery US letter, and from the different types of Avery letter we want to select, go down to the list, a whole load of them here. Right, here we go. There's Avery mailing labels we want. Avery 5159 mailing labels. So it tells us the height, the width and the page size of these. You'll match that up with what's on the box for the mailing labels that you've got, and we'll press OK when we're ready. Now you'll see we've got a blank page, but there's this little icon here up in the top left, and if we click on that we can see the label layout on the page. So we want to click for the in the first box, and now we want to select the recipients. Now press select recipients on the ribbon, and we'll use an existing list unless you want to import from your Outlook contacts. And as before, we will go to the chapter 14 folder on the practice file, and we will select and open the customer list file. We'll select the correct sheet within that spreadsheet, and you'll see here that we've got information inserted for the labels. Now we want to be able to insert an address block here, so we'll just simply press the address block button. We'll choose the format that we want and press OK, but it's only appeared in the first label. All we need to do is press the Update Labels button here, and all of the other labels on that sheet are updated. If we then preview results, we'll see that all of the labels are there and correctly formatted. When we want to finish this and print the labels, press the Finish and Merge button, and we can select here, for instance, to print it directly. So it really is that easy. So that's it for this section. In the next section, we're going to look at collaborating and co-authoring documents.